So what you heard there was the introduction to Need Your Love So Bad, a 1968 song by Fleetwood Mac, so Peter Green playing the guitar solo there. Now, I tried to play basically what's on that record. It's not actually necessary to copy it absolutely, but it's good for study purposes. But you don't want to just trot out the solo that everyone else that he played on the record, because you're the individual. It's up to you to play what you want to play. However, things like if I do a guitar solo, or if I learn a guitar solo, like, I don't know, Hotel California, for example, I'll learn the first bit and then just go off and do my own thing, so that there's sort of, you can hear that it's the solo, but you just do your own thing. It's really important to put your own stamp on it. So just unpicking the first bit. He's got that intro, the ba ba ba, and that first note where the band comes in, it's really clever because there's lots going on in that one. Well, it's technically two notes, but it really is one held note with the release in, with some vibrato. This whole slow blues thing, it's, well, if you listen to the lyrics, need someone's hand. It's just emotion. Proper emotion. It has to come through in the solo. So if it's need somebody's hand, that is completely incongruous. It just doesn't work at all. If you play lots and lots of stuff over the top of a slow blues, sure, it's great to have a few little fast flurries, but you don't want too many. So if I play something that's not very nice, you'll see what I mean. Even though the mess that I was doing up here landed on a note that was acceptable in the chord, it was just rubbish. Complete rubbish. Now, if I was going to do a solo on this, I'd do something like this. So what I tried to do there was start simple, put a few little things in, and then at the end just tail off so that that vocal can come. Actually, the vocal comes in just before the beat there, so actually I could have ended it slightly earlier. Now, the good thing about this tune when you're learning blues is that there's a lot of different scales. There's lots of different chords. This is an 8-bar sequence, so it starts on A, which itself would create the major blues scale. It's basically the F sharp minor blues scale, but starting on A. So you got this. Now, when the chord goes to D7 or D9, that's not a D7, you then use your blues scale on A. So, if I just go back to the beginning and play those first two chords. So that's kind of how the harmonic language sort of plays out there. Now, the third chord is a D sharp diminished. which actually repeats every 3 frets. D sharp diminished, an F sharp diminished, A diminished, and C diminished. And if I go it one more time, which is a bit of a squeeze there, I get my D sharp diminished. Now you're better off with this, with a diminished chord, to play actually a diminished 7th arpeggio. But just a few notes. You don't want to go, you don't want to sort of do that whole, you know, trying to play that diminished scale with as many notes in as possible. Yeah. Now, when you finish that diminished chord, it goes back to your A, so you end up with your major blues scale. Then it goes to F sharp minor, which is basically the same. Then to B minor. Now, B minor, you can stay on your F sharp minor blues scale. And then you've got an E chord. Now, the E7, that's a little bit tricky because you've actually got to kind of think of something separately for that. But it really is, well, it's a dominant chord because the key is A, which is the tonic, or chord 1. So you don't need to worry too much about that chord. It's just put a note on. Because it's resolving, so you can actually use that E chord to kind of lead on to the solo in A. So if I just go back to the beginning, I'll play those scales for you. Because that last chord is an E7, you can just kind of just finish your solo and let that chord play out until the beginning of the next verse where the vocals come in. So let's not worry about the E7 too much. Now, I did a few extra things here. I had an extra note there. That major blues scale usually misses out that 3rd fret on the 4th string. But you can do what's called a chromatic. You can play lots of notes as long as you land on something that works. If you go, then it's not going to work. But if you land on a note, and it doesn't matter how you get there, rhythmically you can create something that resolves, that it's got this sort of tension and release thing. So that's kind of how the harmonic language works and how the scales work. But actually, it's a bit of slow blues. We've got to think perhaps in terms of the scales, but just using bits and pieces. So I'll play you out with something really simple.